What's going on YouTube? So as you can probably tell by the sheer number of RXs driving around, the RX was one of the first luxury crossovers to come out. It was also the first luxury hybrid crossover and continues to be one of the few such offerings today. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and check out this Lexus RX 450h and see if it is the best luxury hybrid. Now, of course, we'll go ahead and start things off by checking out the exterior design. Now, like the regular RX 350, the 450h does receive the same refresh, which kind of changed up the grille and the front design ever so slightly. Now, of course, this being the hybrid, that's going to mean you have the blue tint on the badging, and since this is the F Sport hybrid, that's going to add in a few exclusive features. You're going to have a dark chrome finish around the spindle grille. You're going to have a black mesh inside the spindle grille. And then over here, you're going to have an enlarged faux vent. Now above that, you will notice your headlights. Now there are two different arrangements on the RX. Both are going to be LED, but we have the advanced triple beam LED headlights. Of course, they have a really cool look, and every single element inside of this unit is LED. And additionally, you're going to find LED fog lights down here on the bottom. Now, just like with the front end design, Lexus hasn't really changed anything as far as the wheels for hybrid duty. So that does mean you're going to start out with an 18-inch alloy. You have an optional 20-inch alloy. And then when you choose the F Sport, that will get you these exclusive dark finish 20-inch alloys. And then coming up here to your mirrors, so long as you have the premium package or above, you will have auto dimming and power folding in addition to the standard heating. And then we do also have the optional blind spot monitoring system.
So walking around to the rear design of this RX hybrid, in typical RX fashion, we do have the floating roof design. And then looking at the rear itself, Lexus has changed a few things here for 2020, just like they did in the regular RX 350. So you are going to have this revised taillight design. Now these are actually the upgraded LED taillights. The base model will not have the LED turn signal or the LED reverse light. Now, as far as other changes for the hybrid model down here, you are not going to actually have any exhaust pipes on any hybrid, unlike the RX 350. Now, Lexus has also updated the safety systems for 2020 to include Lexus Safety System 2.0 now instead of the first version. That means you'll have low light pedestrian and bicyclist detection, road sign assist, lane tracing assist, in addition to pre-collision braking, adaptive cruise, lane departure alert, and auto high beam headlights. Well guys, that sums up the exterior of this RX 450h. So let's go ahead and hop inside before we see how this hybrid powertrain performs.
So on the RX hybrid, just like the gas-powered model, you do have standard smart entry, as well as the typical Lexus key fob, except with the blue accents in the emblem. And then of course, to get inside the vehicle itself, just reach behind the handle, there is a sensor, and the mirrors will electrically fold out. Now taking a first peek inside of this cabin on the F Sport model, as you can see, definitely has a lot bolder design than the standard version. Now, of course, red is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, so you do have the full selection of color options between the various different trim packages. So as far as your leather materials, it's going to be a Nulux faux leatherette on most of the models, but you can get semi-alloy leather on the luxury model. And like I said, you do have the full selection of colors, but here on the F Sport, you've got the selection between black or this really, really bold circuit red. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is very nicely finished. As you can see, you have a big piece of red leather that runs all through this middle part. You have some leather above that and some aluminum trim here on the F Sport. Of course, you do have 3-person memory seating, and all 4 of your windows are going to be one-touch automatic. Heading down here to your seat, this is the 10-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. You also find aluminum pedals on the F Sport. And then, like I was already saying, this is the new Lux leatherette. But as I said in the past, Lexus really does one of the best imitation jobs in the business. And this seat is just super attractive looking with the big bolsters. Now, as far as the hybrid and the F Sport are concerned, there's not a huge deal of differences between that and the regular model we reviewed a few months ago. So across your upper dash, there is still a soft touch plastic with the color contrast stitching detail. Dropping down, you have kind of a leatherette material with some more stitching. Like I've already mentioned, on this F Sport, we have aluminum trim in place of different types of wood you can also get. And then we have some more of that red leather that runs through the center console to rest your knee against. And to start the hybrid, just press the blue button. Now, checking out the gauges here, of course, this is not your typical RX gauge cluster. This is what comes on the F Sport, just kind of this sportier arrangement. I will say though that this centerpiece does not slide like it does in other F Sport Lexus models. Nevertheless, off on the left side there, you do have your typical multi-function display with all types of information. And in addition to that, we also have a optional head-up display on this specific example, and that also can too be customized to display different types of information. Heading back here to your steering wheel, of course you do have electric power assisted steering, and the F Sport does have a specific steering wheel with branding as well as red stitching. The wheel itself is power adjusting, and we also have heating on this model. Now that I'm over here, I think it is a good time to go ahead and point out this button right here. This is for your panoramic view monitor. Now this is an option, but when you press this button here, as you can see, it does cycle through kind of a 360-degree view of the vehicle. It's definitely a pretty cool thing. And this goes along with your 360-degree camera, which I'll talk about in just a second. Now, as a family crossover, let's go ahead and move into the important section of storage. And I'm very impressed. When I open up the center console here, it is very deep. You do have a nice felt lining, and this part right here is removable. And then, when we put it to the test by stacking in all of the Burger King coupons, check that out. I can shut it without even having to fold them up. Up in front of that, we have 2 cup holders. They are adjustable in size. We have a little tray here to slide your phone, and another storage area right there, along with 2 charging USB ports and a 12-volt outlet. Now, unlike a lot of the competition, Lexus has stuck with a traditional shifter instead of an electronic one. So you just pull back for drive, bump over here to the left if you want to shift through some manually simulated gear changes. And then when you go into reverse, like I was just saying, you do have a 360-degree camera system. This is your regular view where you have this and your 360 on the side, but you can go into that spinning simulation as well. And then up in front of that, you have your electronic parking brake, which does automatically deploy, and your brake hold function. And then swiveling around to the other side of the shifter here, you will find your seat climate controls. Now, heated seats, those are going to be standard on the F Sport RX 450h, and then you can pay extra if you want seat ventilation. And then right above that, you've got your dual zone automatic climate control setup. 3-zone climate control, that's only going to be available if you choose the extended wheelbase L version. But of course, everything is located physically right there and is super simple to adjust. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a sample of the sound system. We actually have the 15 speaker Mark Levinson premium audio system, so let's go ahead and listen to that. Sound quality of this system is excellent, as you expect for Mark Levinson. Alright, so now let's check out this display. This is where the most important 2020 changes are for the RX lineup. Now first of all, the part that hasn't changed is that it does come standard with an 8-inch display, and this is the optional 12.3-inch display. Now the stuff that has changed. This screen is now a touch display, so that's very important for Lexus, for those of you who know. Previously that was not available, so you just kind of touch into that, and you can, use it as a touch display. The screen itself is actually 5 inches closer, so that it is actually within a reachable distance now. Additionally, we have this touchpad controller here instead of the joystick, and then you also have both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities now for the first time. Now moving on up here, we do have a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes built into it. And then you'll see that we have a panoramic sunroof here on this model. This is actually optional. The standard model does come with a regular sized moonroof.
Alrighty, so hopping in this RX Hybrid's rear seat, I have to say first impression is really good because it is extremely comfortable. I love these seats and I have a lot of space. You're going to come in at 38 inches of rear legroom and 39 inches of rear headroom, which is pretty spacious, but honestly I think that the specs are a little bit skewed because behind rear seating position I have probably 1.5 feet of rear legroom and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, so honestly I think those specs are a little bit off. However, as far as the feature set is concerned, this is going to bring me to today's big airball because I feel like Lexus should have put a lot more features back here than they did, especially in a over $60,000 luxury crossover. So here in the center, all you're going to find is just vents. You will not have your own climate controls. You also will not have a power outlet or heated rear seats, which I do think should be offered on the RX. However, you do have 2 smart charging USB ports. Now walking up to the tailgate of the RX, you are going to have optional kick activation. So all you have to do is wave your foot under the bumper to open. And once inside of this RX's cargo area, you are going to find a good amount of space. It's going to come in at 18 cubic feet behind the second row seats, and if you fold it, it's going to expand to 56 cubic feet. Now it is worth noting that's a slight reduction over the regular RX 350 model. However, if you need that extra space, I would suggest maybe looking at the RX 350L as that will lengthen it and give you a little bit more cargo space. Now as far as the feature set back here, it is of course finished in typical Lexus fashion, so you do have a nice carpeting along the floor, nice cargo cover, LED lighting, and up underneath of the floor you do have a spare tire. Now over here at the passenger seat, it is going to be 10-way power with 4-way lumbar. And in front, you do have a really good sized glove box. It's really nicely felt lined and has tons of space for our Burger King coupons. And up top, we do also have a sun visor with a light and mirror, and it does also detach as well as extend.
Alright, so that's our first acceleration in the hybrid version of the RX. Now, we've never actually driven the hybrid version of the RX, so this is the first time for us.
It is.
While it is different, I have to say, it really feels like there was adequate power getting started here. So we actually still have a V6 on board with this hybrid model. So it's going to be a 3.5 liter V6. It's not the same as in the gas powered model. It's detuned, but then paired with the 2 electric motors and your nickel hydride battery pack, you're going to be looking at a total system output of 308 horsepower. So that's actually a little bit more than the gas powered model.
And I will say, kind of taking off there, I mean, it doesn't feel like a traditional powertrain setup, but it doesn't feel too different either.
Yeah, you get up to 60, quite fast. It kind of, to me, it feels like you're going slower, but that actually is, just kind of a side effect of the other thing that you're probably noticing.
Yeah.
That we have a continuously variable transmission. So, being different from the regular 8-speed automatic, you're going to have a little bit different noises and stuff like that. But, actually like watching the speed build, you're still moving quite quickly.
Now, I will go ahead and mention another one of the differences is that the hybrid is only available and it comes standard with all-wheel drive. So that's just going to be a good thing to note about this hybrid.
And then of course that right there, I mean that's what this RX is all about. That's what every RX is all about, but even more so in the hybrid, because the silky smooth and quiet V6, well, now it's off some of the time. So you didn't think they could make the RX any quieter, but they have. Like, right now, here we are, we're going 38 miles an hour, kind of coasting a little bit. The engine is off. We're in EV mode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's dead silent in here. We can get some official measurements.
Yeah. It's honestly just kind of nuts. The RX, I mean, honestly, this is probably one of the quietest and smoothest vehicles money can buy, and that's at any price point. And I truly mean that. So if you're looking for that type of thing, this RX hybrid is definitely going to impress. But we'll go ahead and get a measurement here. We're going around 40 miles an hour, which is a little bit less than what we were going in some of our other testing, but what was actually coming in was 52 decibels, which is quite possibly the lowest reading I think we've ever gotten on this sound level meter. So that does go to show you and kind of prove the point here that I'm trying to make, is that this RX certainly is focused on comfort, quietness, and luxury. So if that's what you're looking for, the RX is definitely something to check out.
Now, of course, like every RX, your ride quality in here is also phenomenal. Like there's some storm drains and stuff. You just faintly hear that you ran over something, and you just kind of smoothly go along. If you're wondering if there's anything specifically different about the F Sport, as far as the driving dynamics, not really. F Sport, especially here in the RX, more so than even in other Lexus models, F Sport is more of a cosmetic thing.
Yeah.
So you have the cool styling, but Lexus calculated that the average consumer is not going to want an RX that doesn't do RX-y things, and I agree with that. So you're not seeing any compromise in terms of that awesome ride quality. So dynamically speaking, it's still, of course, very comfort oriented. The steering is incredibly lightweight, one of the lightest weight type of vehicles that you can get. And of course there's body roll and things like that. Those are all just decisions that are made because comfort is the priority.
And the part that you guys have been waiting for, of course, this is a hybrid vehicle, so you need to know what's the fuel economy, what's the benefit. And I'm happy to report to you guys, this is a very, very efficient SUV coming in at 31 city, 28 highway, 30 combined. So that's right, 30 mpg out of a luxury crossover. So that's a very impressive figure, and it's over 8 mpg better than the regular RX 350 model. So definitely something worth considering. $1,000 to get the RX hybrid over the regular 350, and you get an 8 mpg increase. So that's just something to consider if that's what your main focus is going to be the fuel economy.
And the last little thing I noticed that I do want to mention is just the amount of time, I guess, when you're in EV mode versus when the engine is firing. I feel like here on the RX, it's going to be less time than in other Lexus and Toyota hybrids I've been in. This is a different setup being with the V6, versus the newest stuff like in the Highlander, which is now switched to a 4-cylinder with this new generation. So you are going to spend less time in the EV mode, I have noticed. So to take off and still be in the EV mode requires the utmost gentleness. I'm not even sure it's possible. But as you saw earlier, it actually switches into EV mode, when you are kind of coasting and stuff as well.
Yeah, it made it to about 5 miles an hour before it switched over, whereas some of the newest Toyotas can almost make it to 25.
So in conclusion, should you buy the RX 450h hybrid over the regular V6 model? I think it's probably something that most people should consider. Like he has already mentioned, you're looking at, big enhancements in fuel economy for a small financial penalty. I think ultimately what it's just going to boil down to is going to be, personal taste, and whether or not it's worth it to you, because the traditional model with the silky smooth V6, it is a great package. So maybe you won't like the powertrains that switch back and forth, but overall nothing really fundamentally changes too much with the hybrid model except for that extra fuel economy.
Alrighty, and as far as the pricing is concerned for this RX 450h, obviously one of its biggest things is that it's actually pretty affordable for this segment of vehicle. So for the very base model, that's going to start at $46,800. Then if you go for this F Sport, that's $50,600. And it's worth knowing the 450h is about a $1,000 increase over that regular RX 350 model, and it does come standard with all-wheel drive. Now this particular tester pretty much has every option that you can throw on it. So we have blind spot monitor with parking assist, the 360 camera and rear auto braking for $1,865, cold weather package $200, color head-up display $600, triple beam headlights $1,675, panoramic moonroof $500, Mark 12.3-inch navigation system with Mark limits and audio $3,365. Touch-free door for $150, all-weather floor liners $280, door edge guards $90, cargo mat $315, and then the destination is $1,025. All told, you're going to come in at $62,985, which, like I mentioned, is the top of this RX 450 lineup, and it is still quite a bit more affordable than stuff like the Mercedes GLE. So even though you may be getting less than that GLE model, this is definitely going to be a lot more of a value-oriented model.
Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 Lexus RX 450h Hybrid. We really appreciate you watching, and if you've made it this far in the video, hopefully that means you enjoyed at least a little bit. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.